descendants of Canaan, and then afterward the clans of the Canaanites spread out so that the Canaanites' border extends from Sidon all the way to Gerar near Gaza, and all the way to Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh yeah. So that'd be right there on the Levant.
Yeah. I have a map here down here of the Canaanite nations of Genesis chapter 10 and how it relates to modern day. So the this Canaan on the west of the east, the east side of the Mediterranean Sea is there, and which is the east of Africa, and the north of it is modern day Europe, and on the right there is Asia. You got slides a little bit out of order. I not a lot of time to prepare this, and I just barely finished it like 10 minutes before this. Okay, so we got this. Okay, so Genesis chapter 14, okay, mentions that Abraham, so we know that they are all descendants of Canaan. We also know that Abraham was an ally with the Amorite, or at least one of them. Okay? Genesis chapter 14. I'll read. Now the valley of Siddim was full of bitumen pits, and as the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah fled. So this is when Abraham was about to go into the land of Canaan, and they're in battle with these two clans, Sodom. They fell into the east, and while the rest fled to the mountains, the victor seized all the possessions, supplies of Sodom. They took with them Abram's nephew Lot, who had been living in Sodom, as well as his possessions, and they departed. The survivor came and brought news to Abram the Hebrew, who was camping at the oak of Mamre, the Amorite. So Abram, this name before he became Abraham, was staying here at the oak of Mamre, the Amorite. And Mamre was the kinsman of Eshcol, Aner, and these were allies of Abraham's. Here it's mentioned that Abraham was buddies with one of the Amorites.
Okay.
The rest, just yeah, rest. So we know that Abram was an ally of the Amorites, but what did the Amorites do that was so bad? Right? Right. So Genesis chapter 15 mentions some of their sins, and so let's read again. The Lord said to Abram, "Know for certain that your descendants will reside as aliens in the land not their own, where they shall be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. But I will bring judgment on the nation they must serve, and after this they will go out with great wealth. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace, and you will be buried at a ripe old age. In the fourth generation, your descendants will return here for the wickedness of the Amorites. The sun has set, and it was dark, and the pure smoking fire apart, and the flaming torch passed between those pieces. And on that day, the Lord made a covenant to Abraham, says, to your descendants I will give this land, from Wadi to Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the land of Kenites, Perizzites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, and Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, and the Girgashites. So yeah, so here God made a covenant with Abram, that he will give him all this lands of these people who's been doing bad, wicked things, but here God says that their evil deed has not come to its fullness yet. That Abraham had to wait for a bit longer. Okay.
Now
So
that beginning part, that describes Babylon, right? Whenever they were taken into captivity into Babylon.
yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to double check.
Sins of Babylon. Here we go. Okay, part 2. We're in First Kings chapter 21. Alright, so we read in verse 25. Indeed, no one gave himself up to doing the evil in the sight of the Lord as did Ahab. So this one we're talking about King Ahab and his wife Jezebel, who he became completely abominable by going after idols, just as the Amorites that the Lord drove out of the Israelite ways. So, idolatry was one of the sins of the Amorites. And so, when Ahab heard these words, he tore his garment and put on sackcloth over his bare flesh, fasted. So, the backtrack a little bit. So Ahab just killed a man, because he wanted his land, and with his wife Jezebel's help. And so through a prophet here, Ahab is being told that what his deed was as evil as the Amorites, and going after idols. And so here we have one mention of what one of us were. So I didn't mention. I don't think I mentioned in here, but the other things that the Amorites practiced were child sacrifice, right? And that was something that's abominable to God as well. And he warned the Israelites before coming to the land of Canaan not to practice their practice. So that kind of practice, that child sacrifice, or was one of the practices that the Amorites did. Okay. Now, go through this here. Book of Numbers, chapter 13. The Lord said to Moses, "Send men to reconnoiter the land of Canaan, which I'm giving the Israelites. You shall send one man for each ancestral tribe, called one leader among them." So Moses sent them to the wilderness of Paran at the direction of the Lord. All of them were leaders among the Israelites, and they returned from the reconnoitering the land 40 days later, proceeding directly to Moses and Aaron, the whole community of the Israelites in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They made a report to them and to the whole community, showing them the fruit of the land. They told Moses, "We came to the land to which you send us. It does indeed flow with milk and here is its fruit. However, the people who are living in the land are powerful and the towns are fortified very large. Besides, we saw descendants of Anakim. The Amalekites live in the regions of Negeb. Hittites, Jebusites, the Amorites dwell in the highland." Okay, so in here, we learn that the Amorites are the high mountain dweller, and the Canaanites along the sea bank, the Jordan. So, again, so I've seen that the Amorites and the Canaanites were sometimes used interchangeably, okay? But they are like one of the 7 nations of the Canaanites. Like, I don't know if they're the strongest. Maybe they were, based on your other histories sessions that you did before from non-religious texts. They seems like they will become very powerful and they built very large empire until they seems like they did very well until they were smoked out by the Israelites. Okay. Amalekites in the region. Caleb, however, quieted the people before Moses and said, "We ought to go up and seize the land, for we can certainly prevail over it." But the man who had gone up with him said, "We cannot attack these people. They are too strong for us." They spread discouraging report among the Israelites about the land they reconnoitered, saying, "The land that we went through and reconnoitered is the land that consumes its inhabitants, and all the people we saw there are huge."
Yeah.
All right, so they were trying to spread rumors that these people were giants, but maybe they are not that far from the truth, because they were the Nephilim. I think this is where I found where they are.
Now
Nephilim,
this was when Moses was traveling through the wilderness, right, with the Israelites. And
no, this is after they're going after the wilderness, and they're about to go into the land of Canaan.
Oh, they're going into the land of Canaan.
Yeah. This is they're about to go into the land, and so Moses sent some spy to go in and scout out the land. And the spies came back with the news. All right. So